if you clicked on this video, that means that you are probably around, 12, 13, maybe 14 and 15. I'm currently 17 years old, and I just, I realized that I've been wasting the last, I don't know, how do I say this, the last 5 years of my life doing, stuff that I thought I enjoyed doing, but I realized was actually, harming me in more ways than I could even imagine. And the biggest component of that was gaming. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, you need to cut off gaming completely because, well, I'm playing a fucking video game right now. But if you play, upwards of 8 hours of video games a day, then you need to start, really looking at yourself and thinking, is this how I want to spend my time playing these video games that have rewards that don't really matter? And you can get the same effect with those rewards with stuff in your life. And I realized that myself, I don't need to go and hunt an achievement in a video game. I don't need to go and try and, I don't need to go and level up in a shooter game like Call of Duty. I just need to find something that I think would fulfill me and would, give me a purpose. And so I did that. I started taking school more seriously because I'm almost graduating and I need to think about, college and all that. I started looking at how to start a business. I started looking at, marketing. I started looking at sales, how to talk to people. And I also broke out of my own shell and realized that if I'm going to sit here in the best years of my life and waste it all playing video games, then what am I supposed to tell the people that I'm going to, be with in the future? How am I supposed to tell my kids that they should, not waste their teenage years? Because I did it myself. And, I only realized that a year ago. I already wasted about 5 years just doing bullshit. I was a chud, and, chances are you're a chud too. You're probably here playing, 8 hours of video games a day. You're on your phone 12 hours a day. Chances are you might be a fucking chud too. If you're sitting there playing upwards of 8 hours of video games a day, you might be playing, 12 hours of games a day, and you might be on your phone 8 hours a day. You are also wasting your teenage years, and I don't want people to come to the same realization that I came to, which was that, there's so many things that you can do in life that you don't even realize, even as a teenager, and, especially as a teenager. If you're a teenager, you have a lot more freedom than if you're like some 10-year-old, 8-year-old, 7-year-old. If you're a teenager, you can go out with your friends. You can, honestly, some of you might be able to start driving already, but you won't be held to the standards that adults are held to most of the time. You fuck up, what's the most that'll happen? You get your ass beat. Yeah, okay, whatever. Like, you're not getting kicked out of your home. You're not, getting starved. And if you are getting starved or getting kicked out of your house, well, you should probably leave that environment immediately. But as I was saying, you need to realize that these are the best years of your life, simply because you have a lot of freedom and little consequences. Now, that doesn't mean go and be committing illegal dumb shit, but what it means is you can talk to people without consequences. You can try something new and mess up, and the worst that'll happen is, well, you messed up. Who cares? If it's better than if you didn't start it anyway. And, there's also, a lot of beneficial things that happens with cutting out portions of your gaming time, portions of your, scrolling time to connect with those around you. I think what I didn't realize growing up was that there's so much value in, connecting with the people around you and building deep relationships. And, it's not networking. It's not for monetary purposes. It's just for, you as on a personal level where you get to be with all these people, like me. I go to an international school. I've seen some of these people 12 years and I never speak to them. And I haven't spoken to them until very recently. And that's because, I started realizing that I don't want to spend all of my years playing video games and, scrolling reels. If you want to do that, that's fine. Being a chud, whatever, be a chud. You know what, though? Your future self will hate you for being a chud. The people around you will probably hate you for being a chud. And deep down, I know you hate yourself for being a chud, even if you don't want to admit it. And this won't reach, a large audience. So if you're seeing this, I hope, you actually kind of need to see it. If you're like a 37-year-old man seeing this, then, welcome, I guess. I don't know. But nobody likes a fucking chud. Even you. I know you don't like being a chud. The biggest thing that I need to emphasize is that becoming a chud, or this kind of chudification that, a lot of teens are going through, is not worth, wasting these years. And, it's fun being a chud. You get to sit there playing video games all day, You might even be able to get a lot of food in. You might be able to, put on some weight. You might look like the fucking Michelin Man. You might look like, the big-ass marshmallow dude from the Ghostbusters. Which, I'm not going to body shame you, but if you are voluntarily doing that to yourself, then I don't know. It's weird because I did that and I hated myself for it, and, I changed it. And I'm not going to say I magically, hated myself. I magically stopped hating myself. In fact, I kind of still do. But, it improved me and my confidence, and, it gave me a lot of mental clarity when I wasn't constantly thinking about, how fat I am. And, it all stems from starting to do more with your life than playing video games. And, there's certainly value in games. I play with my friends all the time. But if you are only on the game and you're playing alone for 8 hours a day, you're doing nothing for yourself. And even nothing for others. I know you don't believe it, but 99.9% of teenagers are good people. They're people that you can connect to. People that, would be fine to build a connection with you. It's only that 0.01% that is such a loud minority because, they're insecure themselves and they just want to put down everyone else. But if you really get to know people, they are good people at heart. And I know this because I've met so many different teenagers throughout the years, and all of them have been genuinely pleasant people. There are only a few that weren't pleasant. And those people are definitely not going places. They're definitely not in good places right now. And I kind of feel bad for them. But at the end of the day, if you are going to be someone who constantly thinks that, it's better to just not interact with the people around you, you're not going to make it, you're not going to go far. And I know there's people that are social outcasts who make a lot of money and have quote-unquote successful lives. But what's the point of money if you don't have anyone to share that money with? You just have gratification after gratification after gratification. So don't spend your teen years just chasing that kind of thing with video games, Make yourself uncomfortable. Get yourself out there. Do stuff with people. Go out. And like I said, at least attend one fucking party. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.